Hello and welcome to Karma's a Stitch. You guys, it is, what day is it? I should be a lot more prepared than I actually am. It is March 17th. So it has been about long enough since I have last recorded an episode. Last time I recorded, you guys knew I was getting ready to go on a road trip and I was working on my turtle poof. It's a hedgehog fibers. It's by Bieta Jezek. Here's a picture. Sorry about the folds. And you'll see that they did just a two-tone sweater. But when you look at that, I loved the sleeves of that. And I loved the puffiness of the sleeves. I loved the cowl or turtleneck. I guess they call it a turtleneck. But I wasn't sold on making one of these until a customer came into the local yarn shop and she had made one as a fade. And I was like, holy cow, that's gorgeous. And not only had she done it as a fade, but she'd also gone up several needle sizes. And I said, I need to know all of the modifications that you need because I love that. And on that day, I laid out a fade. We happened to be having, I did not do any introductions. Hi, I'm Tonya. Uh, this is Karma's a Stitch, and I'm just so excited to start talking to you guys about progress. So, welcome to Karma's a Stitch, and this is a knitting YouTube channel, and I clearly am out of practice, and I'm so sorry, but I'm really excited to share some things. I do have a little bit to share, and I have decided that I'm going to slow down a little bit. And so I don't know how long this will be, but we'll just see how it goes. So get a cup of coffee, which I have done as well. My new coffee cup that Anthony got for me, which I love. Rottweiler dog facts, all the necessary facts you need to know about my beautiful dog, Cinder. So if you are looking to get in touch with me, I am on Ravelry and Instagram, and I have email. And all that information is listed in the description box below. So on the day that I decided I needed a turtle poof, our local yarn shop happened to be having a trunk show. And I laid out a fade of colors and I couldn't decide which fade I wanted because I had two. And at that point in time, I was like, why am I trying to decide? I'll just get both of them. And I did. And last year for Mother's Day, I had finished my first turtle poof. And in finishing that first turtle poof, I wore it. I got to wear it to church on Mother's Day. And I'll put in a picture right here of me and the kids at church on Mother's Day wearing that turtle poof. You'll notice it's long. I was wearing a really long maxi skirt. It's long, it's large, it's oversized, and that's exactly how I love. That's how I wear everything. I don't like to wear a lot of stuff that's super form fitting. So when I decided to cast on this second turtle poof with the fade that I had already chosen, because I did get both of those fades, I had decided to go down a needle, down a size, as well as make this one a little bit shorter. So when I decided to do that, I think the last time I talked with you guys, I was debating whether or not to pull out a color. I ultimately did pull out a color, but I did end up using some of it, I think. Okay, so this is the color I ultimately pulled out, and I will weigh this because I used some of it at the bottom for ribbing. If I'm remembering correctly. Now, I do have a little bit left over, so I'll weigh all of this to put into my spreadsheet for my mileage. Oh, I was so wrong. So this is not the one that I pulled out. So I ended up buying 7 skeins, which is what I used for that long one that I finished last year. So I knew I wanted it shorter. So I pulled out the 7. I knew I was going to pull out a 7th skein, the 7th one. I wasn't sure what that was going to be, so that I was only working with 6. So this is actually the skein I pulled out. And I think it's because it had the yellow in it that I didn't feel like it fit in. So this is actually how much I have left of the 6th skein. So I used like 5 1/4 skeins of yarn for this sweater. Now, this is fingering yarn. Sorry if you can hear it. We've got construction going by. Not construction. It's like a work truck going 1 mile an hour, 2 miles an hour, because there's people holding hoses off the back end of this truck with, I don't know what else to call them, but flamethrowers. They're sealing cracks in the road in front of my house right now, so I'm sorry if you can hear that noise. And if you can't hear the noise, well, then I'm sorry for going off on that tangent. So the yarn that I used, I guess I should probably tell you what that is. I ended up using Sweet Tea yarns. Let's show you the Sweet Tea yarns. And I used their Sweet Sock. It's 75 superwash merino wool, 25% nylon, 460 yards per 100 grams. Now, with that, like I said, I bought 7 skeins. And with those 7 skeins, I pulled the 7th one out after completing one of the turtle poofs because I knew I didn't want it as long. And then I ended up not using the full of the 6th one. So all of them are Sweet Tea yarns from their trunk show. Now, looking at the sweater, I really couldn't tell you which ones were what colorways. But if you love these colorways, I will tell you what they were just in case. So I used Ursula Layer, Sunflower Dress, Mermaid Mist, Moon Dance, Debut Album, and then this one here didn't have a colorway name written on it anywhere. So one of them was a mystery. And who doesn't love a good mystery? Now, this is a fingering weight yarn, and so I did hold it double. I was getting a DK weight, which was fine, like up here. Sorry. When I was doing the neck portion, like this is fingering held double to get the DK. So then as I was gonna go start this fade, I dropped 1 strand of this and grabbed the next 1 strand of the next color. And then I used that until I used up the original color, and then I was able to pick up the 2nd strand of the 2nd color. If you haven't done a fade, that's how I did this one. And I'll tell you, the most complicated part for me really was figuring out when I separated for the sleeves. And I was having to figure out, okay, I've separated for the sleeves. I'm going to be holding this double. And by holding it double, how much of this skein of yarn do I need to hold out for the sleeve times 2, because I'm going to have 2 sleeves, and how much do I want to hold for the body, so that when I'm doing the body, I have enough of this color, but I also have enough for each of the sleeves. I think that was the most complicated part for me. And then I ended up using that 6th color that I have so much left of as the ribbing at the bottom of the body, but I chose not to put it at the bottom because I didn't really, I love bell cuffs, bell sleeves, but I didn't really want this white at the bottom of my sleeves because then it's just gonna get dirty. So anyway, but I ended up using several different lengths of needles. But I ended up using a US 10, which is 5, oh geez, look at me and a 6.0 millimeter needle. So I ended up using a larger needle. Let's look at this pattern. The pattern calls for something much smaller than a US 10. Look at these fun pictures, you guys. Look at that. Like, it really is supposed to be an oversized, look at the size of that turtleneck. Ah, I love that. And even going up a size, my turtleneck isn't that big, like that loose up over my head. So I'm not sure, but they used a US 6, or their pattern calls for a US 6, and I used a US 10. They used, I did the 4th size this time, which was a large. For the longer one, I did an extra large. So you guys want to see my turtle poof progress? So when I pulled this out or off of the WIP wall, because this was the first project that I took off the WIP wall for the year, right? And this right here is how much of the turtleneck I had done. I had to do so many inches of ribbing, and to here, that's how far I had gotten. That was it. But now, fold that turtleneck down, and I finished my top. Look at how beautiful that is. Now, modifications I made. I did make this one shorter, and I decided that I didn't want ribbing on the cuffs. I decided I wanted to just keep the edges open, the arms open, the sleeves, and just have a bell sleeve. I didn't want to put ribbing. You saw I had plenty. But instead of doing the decrease to keep that, I didn't want to do that. I really do like an open bell sleeve. So you guys, I am going to try this on, and I will show you guys pictures of it. It hasn't been blocked yet, so please forgive. But yes, I'm very excited to have this sweater off of the needles. Oh, so pretty. So I will block this, and I will I'll put some pictures in of me wearing this. I'm not gonna try it on right now, but when I finished this, when I finished this, it was time. I finished this on a Sunday. February 1st is when I finished this project. And this project was finished in time for me to get on an airplane. I literally finished this as I was getting ready to go to the airport to head to Alaska for my road trip. So let's take a look at what project bag came off of the shelf after that. I do think that I'm going to make a separate video for that project so that that project will have its own video. And I'm going to end this one here. I do kind of like having these shorter videos talking about one project at a time. It feels good to just have a short little snippet, but yeah, having the shorter videos, getting caught up, and it's not a big, long, we'll see. We'll see. But I do think that I'm going to end it here so that each project has its own video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.